Thank you. What are your thoughts about Wānaka Airport?
Well, I think Wānaka Airport is very important economically and strategically. I've always had a lot to do. I was on the management committee for it when I was last elected member. We had a plan for it in 2016. It was disappointing that I believe the QAC and council got it wrong in the intervening period. I believe the airport does need to be developed to cater for the wide range of activities out there, better use of the space, provide maybe more private hangars, engineering services, flight training and all that. But I also believe it needs to be developed to cater for or to enable ATR type aircraft to commute, to have a commercial connection with preferably cities such as Wellington, Christchurch and Dunedin. And this will also contribute significantly to our economic diversity, having that communication link. I don't believe it should be expanded much any further than that. If you want to catch a A320 to Auckland or Australia, you go to Queenstown.
Okay, thank you. What were the key learnings from the recent High Court ruling about Wānaka Airport?
Well, my learning, well, I was very disappointed that it got to that. I was involved in Plan Change 26, and I have to acknowledge that I just do not know why the Airport Liaison Committee wasn't formed. It was part of that thing, and I have to take some responsibility for that, I guess. But apart from that, since then, the lease arrangement, I don't believe the council should be running an airport. I do believe the council should own, or community board should own the airport and have a lot of say in what happens. But I think a good arrangement with the QAC would have been good, but they got it all wrong.
Okay. Did you read the judgment?
Yes, I have skimmed it. I haven't read it all in great detail, but I have read it, yes, or skimmed it, yes.
Thank you. How have you informed yourself about the airport issues?
Well, like I said, I've been involved all the time. When I was an elected member for 12 years, I was on the management committee out there. We did put together a plan using Austral consultancy to look at options for expanding the airport to cater for commercial flights with ATR type aircraft. Also reconfiguring where the hangar, where the terminal is, make better use of the space, because it's quite confining at the moment the way it's been sort of ad hocly laid out. So yeah, I've got a fairly good knowledge of it. Since then, I was involved with QAC when we gave them the management contract for it, managing the leases and some of the work. We did some work on the apron there, and yeah, I've got a fairly good knowledge of it. I've kept all my documentation from when I was involved last time, and I've been going through it.
Thank you. And have you read the Martin Jenkins report?
No, what report's that? Sorry.
Okay, that was a report which council commissioned recently, but that's fine. We're just seeing if people have read it or not. Who do you believe should determine the future evolution of Wānaka Airport?
Oh, the Wānaka communities. It's our asset. It's like I said, it's economically and strategically very important. We're in an area which, as we get into a diverse range of weather conditions and all that sort of thing, and I've always been strong on the civil defence, where we need some resilience, and if we lose our bridges and are isolated, we need that airport to be able to get things and people in and out from our region. So yeah. I got back to the question.
Yep, you're right. So who should determine?
Oh yeah, the Wānaka communities and the community boards. I was involved heavily with the community board. It should be pulling it all together. And for the council to say community board shouldn't be involved in Wānaka strategies, that's just wrong. And the community board needs to be a lot stronger and coming into local government reviews. I think it is. But that's the community, and here we should guide whoever we get to manage or run our airport, and that's where the decision should be made. And you've got to bang the table and make sure it happens.
Thank you, Lyal. What do you know about the Wānaka Airport Liaison Committee?
Well, like I said, I was on the management committee and I was involved in Plan Change 26. I've had another read of it, and when it was raised by the stakeholders group, I totally agree it should have been formed, and I just can't. I'm just trying to recall my time back then why it wasn't, and yeah, I just haven't got the answer. But it's very important. It was set in that plan change, and it should have been put in place and needs to be put in place now.
Great. So as you've mentioned, there is provision made for the Wānaka Airport Liaison Committee in the QLDC district plan, but it hasn't been established. If elected, will you promote and support the establishment of the Wānaka Airport Liaison Committee? And if you could describe how, please, Lyal.
Oh, it would definitely be one of my highest priorities, and I'll just make it. I'll just go to the CEO and say, well, we're going to form this committee. And as a councillor or as a community board member, I don't care what it is. I won't give up till it happens, because it in the plan change it quite clearly says it has to be formed, and I feel a bit guilty that it wasn't done when I was previously an elected member.
Okay.
I've got greater incentive to make sure it happens.
You do.
And also,
Okay.
it's needed for the future of our airport and our communities.
Thank you. And what do you see as the key issues and considerations driving the airport's future?
Well, part of it is, well, first of all, our need. You know, our community is growing, but like I say, you've got to balance it out. We've got 4 airports in our region that are all internationally capable of taking A320 jets. Now, we don't need that here. What we need is for our community to be able to connect, I believe, with the 3 main centres that ATR type aircraft get to: Wellington, Christchurch and Dunedin. And okay, you know, nice to be connected with Nelson and other places too, but hey, that's further down track. So it's also very important strategically for our communication link, and also we keep talking about economic diversity. If we want to attract other economic activities there, these people will want to communicate or travel, get to places like Wellington. You know, a lot of disposable income in Wellington. We need to be attracting that down here, and also government departments. If we had research and development in Wānaka, you know, that would be the link we need. And so the airport becomes strategically and economically very important. And but the restrictions, you know, budget. You know, we've got to be very careful. It's all very well saying we want to do these things, but it costs a lot of money. And so I think the idea is to pick off, get a 10-year plan or something in place. You know, we have that sort of ready to go, and then pick off key projects in that we can afford and can achieve. And you know, as it means. So don't try and do everything at once. It'll take time, but let's pick the priorities and get them done.
Thank you, Lyal. And what is your stance on carbon emissions, and what should QLDC do? And if you could please be specific on that.
Well, you know, I think the word specific is very important. Like we've got in that climate plan at the moment, there's just a raft of a quagmire of recommendations and actions. You've got to bring it down to, I believe, an A4 page of things that people can understand and we can achieve. And I think that's what QAC, the council, needs to do. Get it down to 5 or 6 actions that will make a difference. I haven't got the details of what those actions should be, but that's what you do. Otherwise, you know, with a quagmire and a spreadsheet of actions, 50 or 60 actions, it just doesn't hit the mark. And so I believe to cut it down to some key things that we can achieve and can get done, and then get the community buy-in to make it happen.
Thank you. And Lyal, what is your position on the proposed new airport at Terrace?
I'm totally against it. I think it's ludicrous. And you know, I've talked to ratepayers in Christchurch. I can't believe that they, as the owners of that airport, if they had 45 million to spare, why didn't they spend it on their covered stadium rather than go back to the taxpayers wanting money for that? I think it's a ludicrous proposal. Like I said, we've got 4 internationally capable airports within our region. You know, we don't need another one, and especially not out there.
Thank you. And what do you see as the role of the Wānaka Community Board and where it should fit with council?
Well, I've always been a strong supporter. I was chair for many years. I was on the National Community Board executive. It was set up, and ideally, we used to be the showcase for New Zealand of what a community board was to achieve. We're isolated from Queenstown. We've got a separate community of interest over here. The community board has legal in the Act standing. It's the only legal entity to make decisions in our local area, and it should be used for that. I think it's been eroded, the power of it, the delegation of it. It had a good delegation, but it needs the members of it to stand up to that, making sure the decisions aren't made by staff, they're brought to the community board. And the community board has also got to get out, have representation with all the community associations, because like I say, the community board is the only legal entity to make a decision, not a community association. And you've got to get out to those community associations, see what they want to do, and then make it happen. And also all the other community groups, such as Stakeholders Group, there's Friends of Pembroke Park, there's a whole raft of them, Chamber of Commerce, and they've got to be right there. But the community board should be have the prestige and the credibility to stand up for Wānaka and make it happen.
Thank you, Lyal. And so one bonus final question. You have 1 minute to address the people of Wānaka, and the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I was on community board and council for 12 years. I finished 2016. I've had a bit of time away. I'm refreshed. I'm a little bit frustrated with what I've seen happen or not happen. And looking at the outcome of the election, there's going to be a lot of inexperience there. And I do actually offer some experience and knowledge. And I can hit the ground running, help with the new members of the community board and the council. The new mayor, and with my experience and knowledge from the past. So I was deputy mayor for 6 years, so I do have something to offer. I've also got passion about the district. I've got some very good ideas. I do believe we're living in a cost of living crisis. We need to be realistic with our planning. I think the capital program to say it's going to be bold and ambitious is wrong. It should be achievable, affordable. There are things we do need to get things done, and it's great to see these water projects happening and some roading, but we need to concentrate on that. Don't get sidetracked and start having to spend money on issues that the government send down to us. We've got to be strong and just provide the necessary requirements for our community, especially in the current climate. So on my planning, and I like the idea, I like to achieve things, but I think we need to be careful what we plan for, pick projects, break them down into segments and get them done in an achievable and affordable way. I'm a realist, and I've got the experience, knowledge, and the commitment to make it happen.